Okay, good afternoon, everybody. We're continuing in Hachaim. We're in Parshat Terumah, Perek Chafei, Pasuk Beis. The Pasuk says, Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, please speak to Klal Yisrael and take from every man, kol ish, me'es kol nediv liboy. Me'es kol ish, from every man, asher yidvenu liboy, that has an expansive, generous heart, tikhu es trimosi. So the Hachaim is going to focus on this Hachaim, on the words me'es kol ish, asher yidvenu liboy. Who is Hashem referring to when he says from every man that has an expansive heart? The Hachaim is going to give two pshatim. We're going to start with the first one. And before we begin, we have to give an introduction. Today, it's not as common, but in halacha, there are certain taxes or communal obligations, or even when it came to the Beis Hamikdash, that the Bezdin or the Rav or the community leaders would assess what each individual can pay. They would say this individual can pay $10,000. This individual can only pay $1,000, and so on and so forth. There are other taxes or communal obligations that are the same for everyone, like the chatzi shekel. Everybody has to give a chatzi shekel in Klal Yisrael for the new karbanos. It doesn't make a difference how wealthy they are or how their status of income is at that moment. They all have to pay chatzi shekel, similar to what was once known as the head tax. So the Hachaim is now going to focus on this idea of assessing how much each individual could donate for the building of the Mishkan and the Kelim. This is something that everybody would give based on their wealth. So now the Hachaim is going to explain which individuals we have to assess what they can pay, and which individuals, for the reasons as we're going to explain, we do not assess what they can pay. Says the Hachaim inside, maybe that Hashem is explaining to Moshe Rabbeinu, a person that we know who is very generous, you don't have to assess what he can contribute to the Mishkan and to the Kelim. Since we know that he's very generous and he's very giving, you know that whatever he gives is the most that he can give. Right? Certain individuals, you know that they give whatever they can give. So if there's no need to assess, because they're going to give whatever they can give. So if they give $100, you know that they can give $100 and they can't give $1 more. Because if they could, they would. Right? Where other people, they can give $5,000, but you know they really can give $5,000, $50,000, excuse me. And Hashem says that I will confirm that whatever this individual who's very generous gives is what he's able to give. Because it says this will be my truma. Hashem will know which individual is generous and gives what he can give. And therefore, such an individual, Moshe Rabbeinu, you do not have to tell him, I expect from you this and this amount. We know that sometimes you don't want favors from people, because you know they don't really want to do it. Either you guilt them, or you pressure them, or they feel that everybody else does it, so they're sort of doing you a favor. Hashem says from such a person, I'm not interested in taking money. I want a person that's going to be very generous and wants to give. Such a person is worthy and zoicha to be a contributor to the Mikdash. But someone who is forced to give, it's not then called my truma, says Hashem. I don't want it. Ela truma, it's called a regular truma, right? The ksiv v'yichuli truma, and that it says v'yichuli truma, take from me a truma, and really I don't want such a truma. Oid nira bediktek oimer shloisha ribuyim hem. There are 3 words that are really extra, and that is me'es kol ish. So when the pasuk says me'es kol ish, is really those 3 words are extra, because it didn't have to say that. It could have just said take from every generous person money. V'ulai. There are 3 words that There are three different categories of individuals that are separate from the regular individual that's chayiv in tzedakah. And we're going to explain as we see inside. But just as an understanding, a person has to give tzedakah, is mechuyev to give between 10 to 20% of his income. What is considered income? You have to speak to your Rav. If it's net, gross, that's obviously something that you discuss with your Rav, how he paskins, what the right amount to do is. A person who's exceedingly wealthy should give more than even 20%, but the average person, we know, does not give more than 20%. Now, there are some individuals that it is forbidden, even for a Baal HaTzedakah, someone who's collecting money, from asking them for money. Normally, when you're raising money, for whatever it may be, you make a list. We're going to ask this person, we're going to ask this person, we're going to ask this person. There are certain individuals that the Torah says you're not allowed to ask. And the Hachaim is going to explain that even though normally you're not supposed to ask the following three individuals for money, however, when it comes to the building of the Beis HaMikdash, you're allowed to ask. Now, obviously, if they give on their own volition, that's not a problem. Then you could take for them. If they come to you and they say, hey, I want to participate in this campaign, in this tzedakah, then obviously it's a mitzvah to take for them. But to go to them and say, we need money from you, it is asur. The exception is the building of the Mishkan. Who are they? Vehem hayisoimim, v'hanoshim, and v'hashoya. Shaya is someone who's overly generous. There are certain individuals that are so generous, they actually give more than they can afford. And that we know you're not supposed to do. And so to go to somebody and say, can you give us money? He can't say no. He's so generous and he so wants to give. He's going to give everything and he's going to be left with nothing. Such a person, it is asur to ask money from. Like it says in Bava Basra, which is one of the main sugis that discusses the hilchos of tzedakah. We do not impose requirements on yisoimim to give money. However, if it's to show people that they have money, that they're generous, that can help them either in business or in shidduchim, right, to give them a proper name, then obviously it's mutter, because that enhances their value, their family, and especially since yisoimim already are in a bad matzav, anything that we could do to help them to strengthen their name and their, street credibility is allowed, and not only allowed, is encouraged. So if we go and we say, this family gave X amount of money, people are going to say, oh, this is a very chashuv family. I want to associate with them. These are good people. We could do business with them, and it's actually a mitzvah. So you're actually, by taking tzedakah from them, you're actually doing a chesed for them. Hanashim, you're not allowed to take from married women. We take a little bit from them because maybe the husbands don't agree that the women should give money. Again, today it may or may not be different. Women work. Something, again, you have to ask the Rav. But the simple halacha is that if an isha gives money, again, it depends what's considered a little bit. If a lady makes $1 million a year, then obviously her little is a lot more than a lady that makes $50,000 a year. So that's obviously a little bit, could be subjective to the individual's income. But generally speaking, when an isha gives a lot of money, you have to be mevar that the husband's okay with it. Usually the husband's okay with it, but that is the simple halacha. Again, everybody should ask his Rav what is the correct psak. Like we explained, that large or small is subjective based on how wealthy the women are. That Ravina, when he went to the city of Mechuzah, would take golden chains. Now that's a lot of money. And they asked him, and he said, because based on the wealth of the people of Mechuzah, they were very wealthy. So golden chains, right, is considered a small amount. Halavai, by all of us, that should be correct. So we see so far two types of individuals that it is asur to go and ask money from them. You cannot go to a married woman and say, we expect you to give X, Y, and Z. You have to go to her husband. If her husband gives permission, that's fine. You can't go to a yasin and say, we expect money from you. Now, if they want to give, or by them giving money, you know that's going to help them, it's going to raise their chashivas in the community, then not only you should, it's a mitzvah. And the last individual is a shua, someone who's overly generous. That is forbidden for the Gabbai Tzedakah to collect money from such a person. And there was a ma'asen that's brought in the Gemara in Tainis, Daf Chav Dalid, of a man called Elazar Ish Birta, who was extremely, extremely generous. That that the Gaboim, those that collected money, would not even appear in front of him. Forget about even asking. If they saw him, they would cross the block or turn the other way. Why? In order not to put pressure on him that he should give. Him, by just seeing a Gabbai Tzedakah, would already give money. Now, that's all in regular tzedakahs. Again, if it's pikuach nefesh, that's something, again, we're not discussing. V'hinei, however, b'nidvas ha'mishkan omar Hashem l'Moshe sheyikach mishlosh niskarim. From the three extra words, me'es, kol, ish, Hashem is telling Moshe Rabbeinu that from these three individuals, you should take. V'hu ma'sheriba b'shlosh ribuim. That's included in the three words. Yisoimim, noshim, shoya. Es l'rabis tesan noshim. The word es is coming to include noshim. You have to know why. That's a different shir. Kol, l'rabis ha'yisoimim. The word kol is coming to exclude, right? Yisoimim. It could be that there's other places that the word kol is associated with Yisoimim. Ish asher yidvenu liboy, that's simple, zu shua. So if you look at the word kol, that's Yisoimim, and ish asher yidvenu liboy is logically coming to include an overly generous person, then the last word ish, just by process of elimination, will come to include noshim. But there's other reasons why the word es is coming to include an ish, and isha, and isha is considered aleph too tough. She has all the aleph base connected to her. She's much more spiritual. That's already a different share for a different time. From these three, yikach afilu davar gadol, even a large amount, and you can even assess, like we learned in the beginning. And the Hachaim says there's a reason for this. The Mishkan is a kapara on the Maisa Egel, and all these three individuals need a kapara. So if there's something that these three individuals did wrong and they need a kapara, you're allowed to take tzedakah from them. Moshe said, Hashem, can everybody in Klal Yisrael build the Mishkan? Hashem said, yes, by collecting money. Now, where are they getting the money from? So there's two places. One is extremely interesting. Ki hamon. The mon, not only food came down, but actually diamonds, rubies, sapphires, and emeralds came down. They had a lot of money from it. So everybody in Klal Yisrael had a lot of money. So therefore, the Yisraelim had a lot of money. There was no problem to collect from them. The Nashim were exceedingly wealthy. So even collecting a large amount of money for them was not a lot because they were exceedingly wealthy. And from somebody who's overly generous, even if he gave all the money for the Mishkan, says the Hachaim, he still had plenty of money, because as we know, not only did Klal Yisrael take money from Mitzrayim, they also collected money on the seashores, on the beaches where the Egyptians washed up, and the Medrash says that there was more money on the beaches than all the money they took from Mitzrayim, in addition to the rubies and the sapphires and the emeralds that came with the mon. So everybody had plenty of money, so it wasn't an issue. Now, so we see from here that with respect to having a kapara, everybody needs to have a kapara. With respect to not taking too much money, this wasn't an issue because Baruch Hashem, in the times of the Midbar, everybody in Klal Yisrael was very wealthy. Now, as a side note, so you're going to say, very good, they have rubies and diamonds and sapphires, what are they going to do with it? So they either could have traded it with other individuals that had other properties, which means the Mishkan could have collected money, and the Moshe Rabbeinu could have went around and started buying different items. They could have melted down the gold, the silver. In addition, there's a medrash that says that in every area that the Klal Yisrael stopped, the Goyim would come and do business with them, would trade with them, fruits, vegetables. So it's possible that Klal Yisrael purchased certain items to the Mishkan with the money that they had. So that wasn't an issue. Now the Hachaim ends off with a Kabbalistic Indian. What is the word Trumasi and Mishkan? That is above my pay grade, so for now we're going to leave it. And beschus of the building of the Mishkan, we should taka bizoichet to have a kapara, and bizoichet to build the ultimate Beis Hamikdash b'mher b'yameinu amen.